Hey travelers, we're cycling across France, the narrowest part from Bordeaux on the Atlantic to Sète on the Mediterranean. It's about 700 kilometers over 13 days of easy riding. And because we're following mostly the canals between the two seas, it's shaded by plane trees, it's off-road, and it's flat.
The French call this cycling trail the Véloroute Canal des Deux Mers. It really consists of two parts. From Bordeaux to Toulouse, which is about the halfway point, it follows the Canal de Garonne built in the 19th century. Then from Toulouse to the Mediterranean, it follows the Canal de Midi, an engineering marvel from the 17th century. Kim and I had cycled along the Canal de Midi several times before. For this trip, our friends Judy and Andrew joined us. We are all avid cyclists, but we set a leisurely pace of 40 to 60 kilometers per day. Our self-guided trip was organized by Lateral, who recommended and booked our accommodations, as well as details like transferring the luggage from hotel to hotel and renting bicycles. They provide a route map, but the canals are easy to follow. Directions are only needed to find that evening's hotel. We spent a day exploring Bordeaux, including the new Cité du Vin Museum, both are certainly worth more time, and then set off. The first day rides mostly along the paved Roger Lapéby cycle trail and ends in Saint-Macaire. Except for getting to and from hotels, this is an off-road ride. The Canal de Garonne ends in Castet-en-Dorte at Loch 53. The trail along the canal is paved, making for an easy ride. And although it's uphill to Toulouse, you'd never know it. Each time you pass a loch, there's a rise of about 5 meters. We rode in late August and early September, and the weather in the south of France is still quite warm. Although we saw a little rain, the trees shading the canal kept us dry. It is the end of summer tourist season. Some places along the canal were already closed. The canal is a most scenic and pastoral scene. There are times when it seems that we're in a time warp, and we've traveled back 100 or more years. Virtually every turn reveals another photo-worthy vista as the kilometers glide easily by. The architecture and construction, particularly of the Canal de Midi, is fascinating. It's over 300 years old and retains much of the original infrastructure. The tunnel at Malpas, the first navigable tunnel in Europe, or the many bridges where the canal crosses a river are particularly interesting. There's a great deal of history to explore, and the canal's architect, Pierre-Paul Riquet, remains revered and remembered with an obelisk, statues, and street names all along the route. From Toulouse, the ride is generally downhill to the Mediterranean, but again the slope is so gradual the entire ride feels flat. Although there is some pavement leaving Toulouse, the remainder of the trail isn't paved and can be a little challenging where it's narrow or rocky with ruts and large tree roots. There are charming towns with cafes, restaurants, and other attractions, making it a full day riding from one overnight to the next, averaging about 12 kilometers per hour of riding, about 4 to 5 hours per day. And we never know what we'll find. In Haugen, the annual prune festival was in full swing. Carcassonne was decorated with colorful umbrellas. The last day, from Cap d'Agde to Sète, is a short ride along the Mediterranean. We took advantage and spent a few hours relaxing on the beach. La Rebenne includes breakfast with all the accommodations, so we're always off to a good start. Lunch varies. Sometimes it's an informal picnic with bread, charcuterie, cheese, and wine we've picked up along the way. There's nearly always a picnic table. Sometimes lunch is quite spectacular. In the small town of Golfech, a restaurant called Goldfish served us a wonderful and delicious gourmet meal. That's a location I hope to return to. Le Chat qui Pêche also provided a wonderful midday break, among the best along the route. Along the canal there are many small cafes. My favorite is at Écluse de la Perruque, where Monsieur was happy to treat returning customers to freshly picked figs. The Café Crème, combined with the view, makes this a special spot I particularly look forward to. At another, we found a passable glass of wine, and yet another makes excellent crepes that are well worth the stop. There are a couple of evenings where dinner is included. as the location isn't close to a town, but otherwise, there's a good choice of restaurants wherever you end up. The Marquière in Carcassonne is a standout for service with a chef's menu that's interesting, local, and delicious in a charming courtyard. The accommodations range from high-end luxury, like the Hotel Bourdigala in Bordeaux, or the Hotel du Château in Carcassonne, to the merely comfortable. When the destination has a pool like the Hotel du Château or Jardin d'Oms, it's a welcome sight at the end of a hot day's ride. Our host at Jardin d'Oms continually exceeded our expectations with his hospitality. Kim and I specifically asked to return to Domaine d'Al, just off the Canal, a chateau that was formerly a winery and is now a wedding destination. During the week, they're happy to host cyclists. We sat down for dinner with our hosts and were treated like friends at the family table. It is, of course, not necessary to ride the entire length of the trail. La Rebenne and other tour operators will customize a package to suit the distance, the days, or the locations that you would like. My photography friends will want to know that these images and footage were taken primarily with the Sony RX100 Mark VI and the DJI Mavic Air. Travel is always a wonderful opportunity to exercise my mantra: take photos and video until your memory card is full and your battery is empty.